Hello, folks, and welcome to World Warships with Captain Beaner. I'll have two replays for you today. The first one here is me in my New York, here on whatever map it is. I can't remember. The name escapes me. Oh well, I'll figure it out later, maybe. But anyway, in today's replay, I'll be mainly focusing on tactics to use when going up against other battleships and annoying little cruisers, um, and pretty much using your battleship's armor to its full effectiveness. So, um, but first off, here I ram somebody in a fast, maneuverable cruiser who doesn't give two shits that there's a slow, lumbering battleship right beside him. So instead of caring, I decide to say screw it and yeah, give him some lovin'. So anyway, next up we have this Omaha over here. He's we're gonna meet him very shortly anyway. He's gonna be our first victim. Um, Here we have a couple destroyers out here who are. Huh, that's weird. Oh, here we go. Thought my replay system was buggy, but it's not. Just don't know what I'm doing, I guess. So anyway, got our little friend and destroyer over there. He's gonna be in the world of hurt pretty soon. Going up there all by his lonesome. He's gonna have at least another destroyer to contend with. And yeah, there he is. He's gonna die pretty soon. So, but I try my best to help him out. Take some shots at this little destroyer here, but I fire ahead of him a little too far and don't score anything on him. But here comes our friend in the Omaha, and hopefully we can do a little bit of damage to him. So he's obviously spamming high explosive, as you can see here pretty soon. Doing very little damage, but still enough to be annoying and whittle my health down a little bit. Take some shots off at him. Hit him once with a Citadel hit, which was pretty good. Did 10,000 points worth of damage. Here I'm turning, so to angle my armor, so try and get some more bouncing shots off of him, or hopefully. But with high explosive, I think regardless of whether you angle your ship or not, because they're high explosive and they tend to explode on contact, they don't bounce as much as AP would. So, but able to, with some friends, helps from some friendly ships there, manage to sink them. Fortunately, I already used my damage control ability earlier on, so I can't extinguish this fire right now. But that's okay. So I have lots of health left. Now, I'm looking around, trying to figure out where to point my guns next, and well, not a whole lot of guys are in range. Don't really want to fire my guns off of that destroyer over there. It's going too far away and going too fast to try and hit. Got a couple battleships, a couple cruisers over here. And got a friendly destroyer that just lost his life. So meaningless. And yeah, give this this battleship some loving. I noticed that he wasn't turning and I was going to hit him, so I tried to maneuver out of his way, but you know, slow, unmaneuverable ships tend to stay slow and unmaneuverable. Now we got a Myogi here. We are going to see more of him later, but for now, we're going to ignore him. So I focus on the guys on this side. I should have stayed focusing on these guys here, but I didn't. I wanted to help assist these two cruisers here with that Myogi if I had to. Yeah. Numbers. It's a numbers game. So I'm going to start focusing down this St. Louis and this South Carolina here now. I don't know why that Langley is steaming straight towards the enemy two enemy ships here. He's turning, but it's too late now. They've seen him, so they're focusing on him. I'm gonna focus on the South Carolina. He has the bigger gun, and since I'm in a battleship, he's priority 1. And he's almost dead anyway, so why not? Take some guns out of the action. Yep. And these are going to miss too. Nope. One Citadel hit was enough to finish him off. And now we focus on the St. Louis. They say it's always better to, well, you always want to shoot at the guys that are shooting you, but at the same time, if there's 2 guys on low health, and it's probably a better idea to take guns out rather than so the rest of your team, if you are going to die, the rest of your team has a better chance to take on the rest of the enemy fleet. Like I said, numbers game. So keep focusing down the St. Louis. Got a Congo coming around the corner there. Doesn't look like he's fully upgraded. Nope. Doesn't have the upgraded hull on him, so he's going to be a little slower, I think. But we'll as soon as we finish off this St. Louis, we'll divert our attention to him. So, I know a lot of people don't like seeing other people hit the border here, but at the same time, if my guns are fully loaded, I'll hit the border and just keep on steaming into it until I unload my battery of guns on an enemy. Then, once I'm reloading, I'll turn my ship away, and while my guns are reloading, they'll be turning to face the enemy on the opposite side of the ship. Another 2 hits there. Only 1,000 points damage. I don't know. I probably overpenned. That's why I only did 1,000 points. It's kind of hard to decide whether you're supposed to use armor piercing or high explosives on some of these cruisers. I know the Furutaka in particular, especially at close range, I can't seem to get many Citadel penetrations, if any, with armor piercing, so sometimes I'll try and switch to my high explosive, but at the same time, still don't get any citadel hits with high explosive, and it's almost like regardless of whether you're using armor piercing or high explosive, you're better off to use armor piercing just because you do slightly more damage anyway than high explosive. So, take some shots on this Congo here. They all look pretty good. Yep, 20,000 points of damage right there with the 2 citadel hits. Now those 2 citadels hits are gonna um, be a good thing here later on, as our team's dwindling down to the last 3 here on our side. Those guys have 3 shifts remaining on their side too, but we're kind of outgunned here with them having 2 battleships and 1 cruiser, and us 1 battleship, 2 cruisers. So, take some shots off on this Myogi here, since he's the only one that I can shoot, pretty much. Again, 1 hit, but no damage. He was at that angle, I'm not surprised. So, yeah. As you can see, if you angle your ship even slightly like he did, you can still bounce. Not all the time, but most of the time you'll still penetrate, but from this range, yeah. Now, I decided to fire at this guy since he was on low health, and like I said earlier, better take out 1 gun than have 3 guns firing back at you. And now, I'm the only one left alive. So at this point, I am going pretty much... The adrenaline's running at this point, and I'm cursing myself that I'm last one alive, because I don't know how I'm going to pull this off with half my health gone and 2 battleships bearing down on me. So, but might as well focus on this Myogi, who's lower health. Get the shots off, and he's angled. Yeah, 3 penetrations, 1 spalding damage, I guess you call them, and the other 2 just bounce clearly off. So, Congo firing at me from around the corner. Most of those miss, and the ones that do bounce. Looks like this guy's firing high explosive at me. So, since this Myogi is right in front of me, I'll focus my fire on him, while at the same time angling and keeping my keeping a smaller target towards the Congo there. Now, Myogi's down, so I can focus on this Congo now. So, and you'll see here in a bit that I'm going to be trying to use my ship's armor to its advantage. So, shots off, and looks like I might have damaged his gun. I don't know if it was his primary or his secondary. So now that I've fired off my guns, I'm turning towards him to angle my armor and give him a smaller target to hit. And as you can see, one of those shots bounced. That one didn't, unfortunately. But yeah. So keep my armor angled, guns pointed at him. Shots off. And another incapacitation. So, He's almost reloaded, so I am going to keep my ship angled. 2 shots. Those miss. He has 4 guns, so that was one of them. Here's another 2. Light damage. Here's 2 more, but they aren't pointing at me, so I'm going to turn my broadside to him. Give him my guns. His guns are almost pointed at me, so... And Citadel hit. That's always welcoming. So now my guns have fired, so I'm going to turn back towards him, angle my ship and my armor. 4 guns there. Hit me once. I think he hit me a second time, but the second one bounced. And another. Those completely miss. And one more. Nope. Oh. So, oh, there we go. Here's the second one, but I've already turned too much, so there's no point in trying to avoid him. And at this point, I'm starting to sweat bullets because I was hoping that one of those shots would be a Citadel penetration, but no, RNG isn't on my side. At least not for that salvo. Again, turn towards him, angle my armor, give him less of a target. Now I'm almost fully loaded, so I'm turning back, face my broadside. And here we go. There we go. Another Citadel hit, and he's gone. That wasn't a bad match. As you can see, I made 250,000 credits, 3,600 experience. That's obviously a double. But I also got high caliber, which is when you damage at least 4 enemy ships, and the damage caused must exceed 30% of the total HP of all the ships in the enemy team. So that means you add all the HP from all 15 ships on the enemy side, and if you do 30% of that total hit point pool, then you'll get your high caliber award. And then Dreadnought, it's similar to Steel Wall in World of Tanks, except instead of bouncing 11 hits, you have to receive damage equaling 120% of your ship's normal HP from 4 or more enemies and survive the battle. So it's obviously a little bit harder to get the Dreadnought or Steel Wall, you should say, in World of Warships than it is in World of Tanks. But again, 43 targets hit, 3 incapacitations, 3 destroyed, 6 Citadel hits, which was pretty impressive. I usually don't get so many Citadel hits in one match. Usually I maybe get 2 or 3, but it's also always a welcome sight. So base experience 1637. That puts me on top of my match. The closest guy to on the enemy team got pretty much exactly half of what I got in this match. So, yep. And then 112,000 armor piercing damage. That is definitely a lot, but at the same time, I was left alone at the end there. So I got a lot just from facing off against those 2 enemy battleships by myself. Usually, typically, I'd see about 50, 60,000 damage in a match, which is, I'd say, pretty good for a battleship. Um, you've obviously contributed a little bit to the game anyway. So, but on to our next replay now. Now, here's our second replay. It's me in my Atlanta. I have lots of fun in this Atlanta, just because it's a fast and nimble cruiser. It has torpedoes, but um, I don't generally use my torpedoes as an offensive weapon. I usually use them as a defensive weapon in close quarters combat, and then also for um, uh, targets of opportunity and ambushing. I found that similar to the Phoenix and Omaha, if you use your torpedoes as an offensive weapon, 60-70% of the time you will just be suiciding. So you won't be effective. You won't be using the ship to its most effective,
The enemy team is taking the
um,
lead.
and you won't be very effective to your team. Now, this is two brothers, so two brothers meaning being the two islands there with a river down the center. Now, regardless of whether I'm on this side or the other opposite end, um, it always seems like that one or two ships likes going down the center from this side of the map. I don't know why, but it always ends up being a suicide um, this early on in the match anyway. You just end up suiciding. Now, um, I activated my defensive fire ability here just because I wanted to get rid of these two fighters, just
Our team is taking the lead.
because it would diminish the supply on the enemy carriers and at the same time make it easier for our carriers to, well, not easier, but I figure that with more enemy fighters gone, the survivability of friendly torpedo bombers and bombers would increase. But unfortunately, I didn't notice. Because of that, I didn't notice these two bombers and this torpedo bomber coming after our carrier. So that was kind of an oopsie on my part. Luckily, the carrier comes off unscathed, almost unscathed. Um, those torpedo bombers, I don't think even launched a single torpedo before they were destroyed. Yeah, they didn't launch a single torpedo, but he, one of those bombers obviously got some bombs off. So, yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. So, but now that I'm over here, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll go down the center now, and hopefully by the time I get down the center, now that Cleveland's dead and gone, and hopefully the enemy guns will be pointed away by the time I get down the center, so I can uh, surprise them with my torpedoes. But we'll see here eventually. So yeah, this is typical for this map here. You see a few guys go down this side and brawl it out with enemy cruisers and battleships over there, but most of the guys tend to go down this side, around where the more islands are, probably because there's more concealment and makes it harder for the enemy ships to fire and land effective hits on your ship and whatnot. But I don't play this. I haven't played this map too often in Battleship, so I wouldn't really know the idea why they go down that way. But here we go. Just entering the mouth now. And, well, two enemy fighters. This sucks because they're going to spot me. So, no longer going to be No longer going to be a secret that I'm coming down here. So, a lot of people tend to slow down in this fjord here, or whatever you want to call it, but I don't, just because I'm more maneuverable at higher speeds. So that, and some people, or most people, follow the torpedo firing arc, so they'd fire way ahead of me, so I'd be able, so because of that, I'd be able to turn in and avoid those torpedoes. Now, I wasn't exactly expecting this, facing off against this Wyoming, but it is what it is. I came down here, now I gotta live with my decision. Now, this is perfect. This is perfect right here. He has no way to maneuver, so he's going to eat all these torpedoes. And there we go. Now he is gone. Now all I have to worry about is the shore here and all those enemy fighters. Now, so unfortunately, it's going to take me a little bit to get out of here, just because, one, there's so many fighters around, and I was watching and trying to figure out where they were going, and yeah, I just got a bit flustered here. Hit the island again, but
Problem solved, sir.
and yeah, set on fire. Beautiful. So, now I back off a little bit more, give myself some more breathing room. So now I want to go wide here and then cut in, just because I don't know exactly what's around this corner, and I just want to throw off torpedo aim. But obviously I didn't fool the carrier and his torpedo bombers. I eat one right there. Now I didn't notice that Cleveland on low health. All I saw was that big flat top right there, and waste some shots on him. If I had focused that Cleveland first, maybe I would have survived a little bit longer, but it is what it is. Now that carrier's gone, so now to focus on this Murmansk. I was debating whether to fire on that Murmansk or that Myoko, sorry, but looked like the Myoko was AFK, so first things first, get the guy that's shooting you. So, now, at this point, I forgot that there was a second enemy carrier, so I completely ignored enemy fighter bombers and torpedo bombers at this point. It just started focusing on this Murmansk here. If I'd paid better attention, maybe I would have avoided what's coming up next, but at the same time, no, nobody's perfect. Get a couple more hits on this Murmansk. And any moment now.
Our victory is in sight.
Well, here we go. There we go. And that's it for Captain Beaner. So, obviously I got a little bit silly there, forgetting that there were other ships in play, like the other carrier, the cruiser, and whatnot. If I had paid better attention, maybe I would have survived a little bit longer, but I got rid of one battleship and assisted in the destruction of that carrier and other cruisers, so I did my part. So, now I'll skip to the battle results screen, since there's nothing else special here. As you can see, even though I got a little bit silly, I still had a fairly decent game. Got 272,000 credits, 3,000 experience, which is obviously doubled. Got the devastating strike when I sank that battleship with my 4 torpedoes. 23 targets hit with my shells, 4 torpedo hits, 25 aircraft shot down, 2 ships sunk, um, 3 flooding damage or flooding points or whatever you want to call them. And then I obviously assisted in the first base capture there. So not too bad a game. Um, could have been better, like I said, if I didn't get too silly. Um, I was second from the top in experience earned, 1,300 base experience there, which is pretty good. The highest I think is on the enemy team was 760, which was from that carrier that we had sunk earlier. Um, almost 8,000 high explosive damage, which is nothing compared to what you would normally do in a ship like this. But 42,500 torpedo damage, that's pretty good. But that was all done from that Wyoming that we sunk. So, yeah. So all in all, 2 good replays, and hopefully you guys learned a few things from these two. And I hope to catch you guys later. Ciao.